On May 12, 2004, just 40 kilometers into the opening stage of the Tour of Asturias, television cameras captured one of the most disturbing moments in modern cycling history. The lens suddenly fixed on 21-year-old Alberto Contador, lying motionless on the asphalt at the side of the road. His body was convulsing, his arms and legs shaking uncontrollably, and blood could be seen on his face. What should have been a routine early section of the race instantly turned into a scene of panic and disbelief, sending shockwaves through riders, team staff, commentators, and viewers watching at home. Race doctors and medical personnel reacted with urgency, sprinting toward Contador without hesitation. One doctor immediately took control of the situation, preventing him from swallowing his tongue and assisting his breathing with an oxygen tube. Every second mattered, and those calm, decisive actions proved critical. In the middle of the chaos, the priority was clear: keeping the young rider alive. The severity of the incident was such that television producers chose not to show the most critical moments live, sparing viewers from the worst of the scene. Only a short clip was later released, recorded after his condition had stabilized enough for him to be safely transported for further treatment. For many watching, it was impossible to believe what they were seeing. Contador was not involved in a crash with another rider, nor had he hit an obstacle. He had simply collapsed mid-race without warning. In a sport where crashes are common, but medical emergencies of this nature are extremely rare, the incident stood out as both shocking and deeply unsettling. What began as an ordinary stage race suddenly became a fight for a young athlete's life, marking the beginning of a story that would later define Contador's resilience, character, and legendary status in the sport. Riders who witnessed the incident later recalled a moment that felt eerily unnatural. Alberto Contador briefly lifted his gaze toward the sky before suddenly turning his handlebars and collapsing to the ground. There was no contact with another rider, no road hazard, and no visible mechanical failure, nothing that could normally explain such a crash. In the tightly packed and chaotic environment of professional cycling, where most falls have an obvious cause, the absence of any external factor made the incident especially unsettling. With hindsight, it became clear that the warning signs had been there long before that day. Just weeks earlier, during a race in Madrid, Contador had been struck by a severe and unusual headache that forced him to abandon the event. The pain did not fade quickly. It persisted for several days, disrupting his recovery and training. Still, like many young riders determined to prove themselves, he pushed on and returned to competition. At the time, neither he nor his team realized that the episode was a critical signal of a far more serious neurological problem, one that would soon place his life, not just his career, in grave danger. At the Tour of Asturias, it took only the first sustained effort of the race to push his body beyond its limit. While still riding in the peloton, Alberto Contador suffered a massive seizure, losing control of his bike without any warning. What appeared at first to be a mysterious collapse was soon understood to be a life-threatening medical emergency. He was rushed to hospital, where doctors carried out a series of urgent neurological tests to determine what had gone wrong. The results were alarming. Examinations revealed that Contador was suffering from a cerebral cavernoma, a rare and dangerous vascular malformation in the brain that had already caused internal bleeding. The condition explained not only the seizure, but also the severe headaches he had experienced weeks earlier. Doctors made it clear that the risk was extreme. Without treatment, another seizure or brain hemorrhage could be fatal. They strongly recommended immediate brain surgery as the only safe option. Once his condition had stabilized and the immediate danger had passed, Contador was faced with a decision that went far beyond cycling. At just 21 years old, he initially chose to postpone the operation, hoping that rest and recovery might allow him to avoid such an invasive and frightening procedure. It was a decision rooted in uncertainty and fear, as well as the hope that his young body could somehow heal itself. But the underlying problem remained, quietly threatening his life with every passing day. That fragile sense of hope did not last long. Just days after being discharged from the hospital, Alberto Contador suffered another violent seizure at home, an episode so severe that it nearly claimed his life. This time there was no room for doubt or delay. The warning could not have been clearer. Without surgery, the risk was simply too great to ignore. Faced with the reality of his condition, Contador agreed to undergo brain surgery in Madrid. It was a daunting decision, especially for a 21-year-old whose career had barely begun. The operation itself was complex and carried significant risks, and in its aftermath, his body shut down. Contador slipped into a coma that lasted 3 long weeks, a period filled with uncertainty for his family, friends, and the cycling community, who waited anxiously for signs of recovery. Against all expectations, he slowly emerged from the coma, and the surgery proved to be a success. Step by step, he began the long and delicate process of rehabilitation. By November of that same year, just months after fighting for his life, Contador was back on a bicycle. Every ride was cautious, every effort measured, but the simple act of pedaling again marked a remarkable turning point, the beginning of one of the most extraordinary comebacks in the history of professional cycling. In 2005, his comeback gained profound emotional weight when Alberto Contador claimed a stage victory at the Tour Down Under. The win was far more than just a result on paper. It was a powerful statement that he had not only survived a life-threatening ordeal, but was once again capable of competing at the highest level. For Contador, it symbolized redemption, resilience, and the return of belief after months of uncertainty. That single victory opened the door to a remarkable resurgence. As the season progressed, he continued to grow in confidence and strength, adding 4 more wins to his tally. Most significant among them was his first overall victory in a professional stage race, a milestone that confirmed he was no longer just a promising young rider, but a genuine contender with the mental and physical tools to lead a team. These performances made it clear that his talent had not merely survived his medical crisis, it had evolved. Still, those early successes were only the foundation. It was between 2007 and 2011 that Contador truly cemented his status among cycling's elite. During those years, he rose from comeback story to dominant force, conquering the sport's biggest races and consistently outperforming the world's best riders. What followed was not just a return to form, but the emergence of one of the defining champions of his generation. During that golden era, Alberto Contador achieved a rare and extraordinary feat. He won every Grand Tour he entered. His racing was defined by explosive, fearless attacks launched far from the finish line, moves that thrilled fans and unsettled rivals. Rather than waiting patiently for the final climb or time trial, Contador raced with relentless aggression, often turning entire stages upside-down and reshaping how modern stage races were fought and won. His distinctive style earned him unforgettable nicknames. El Pistolero reflected the sudden, sharp accelerations with which he pulled the trigger on his competitors, while the Dancer captured the elegance and fluidity of his climbing technique as he seemed to glide uphill out of the saddle. These contrasting qualities, brutal power and graceful movement, made him one of the most captivating riders of his era and a nightmare for anyone trying to control a race. Yet beneath the victories and celebration lay a constant reminder of what he had endured. A long scar running from ear to ear across his head, the result of his brain surgery, remained visible throughout his career, a silent testament to how close he had come to losing everything. Contador has often spoken openly about how the physical pain, fear and emotional struggle he overcame early in his life forged an unbreakable mental toughness. That inner strength, born from survival rather than success, became a defining part of his identity and a key reason why he was not only admired for his results, but deeply respected across the cycling world. Although his extraordinary run of success was later overshadowed by the clenbuterol case, which led cycling authorities to strip him of several major titles, Alberto Contador's story did not end in controversy. The episode marked a painful turning point in his career, bringing intense scrutiny, legal battles, and public debate that threatened to redefine how he would be remembered. For many riders, such a setback would have signaled the end. After serving a 2-year suspension, Contador returned to the peloton facing doubt, criticism, and the physical challenge of rebuilding his form. Yet once again, resilience defined his response. He fought his way back to the top level of the sport, defying expectations by winning 3 more Grand Tours after his return, an achievement that underscored both his enduring talent and his remarkable mental strength. When he retired in 2017, Contador left the sport with 7 Grand Tour victories to his name and a career shaped by triumph, adversity, and reinvention. More than just a champion, he became a symbol of perseverance in professional cycling. Through near-death experiences, controversy, and comebacks, Alberto Contador cemented his place as one of the most accomplished, resilient, and influential cyclists of his generation, remembered not only for how he won, but how often he refused to be defeated.